So, hello everyone. I thought that I would be introduced, but I'm actually introducing myself. So my name is Thomas. I lead marketing at Oberlo, which is part of Shopify right now. And yeah, I've been working for Oberlo for the past 3 years. I also co-founded it, and I'm now working at Shopify for the last year and a half almost. And yeah, I think you'll learn more about me throughout our conversation. And yeah, I think that's it before the audience.
Okay, so we have questions from our team members. What we want to learn about Thomas and about launch Shopify in general, because it's kind of a great chance for us to talk more about SaaS products, and because we don't have many successful examples in Lithuania. So, okay, so here's the list.
So I'm going to learn. Okay. So, most successful and unsuccessful marketing campaign done by Oberlo. Yeah, that's a good question. I think the most successful one was, I'm not sure if I can pinpoint one, but one was definitely very interesting. So, at the very beginning, we had a hard time building trust with the merchants. So we were offering a solution which at the time allowed merchants to sell products off AliExpress. Actually, let me step back and tell me what Oberlo does, because probably a lot of people don't know. So Oberlo allows merchants to find products to sell online. So let's say you are an aspiring e-commerce entrepreneur, you want to start your own e-commerce business, and you don't have products to sell because not a lot of people can make products themselves, right? So what you can do is you can come to Oberlo, browse our catalog of products, then import those products to your store. And we only work with Shopify right now, so you can import those products to your Shopify store and start selling them right away. And so that's what Oberlo does. And at the beginning, we only offered sourcing products from AliExpress. So basically, you could only browse catalog of products, which consists of products from AliExpress. And AliExpress has a pretty brand name for us here. So when we started, like a lot of people were very skeptical about sourcing products from AliExpress and selling them with a margin overseas. And so we had a hard time building this brand and trust with the merchants. So we decided that we need some cool badges on our landing page, like, featured on Forbes, featured on Entrepreneur, Inc. and other websites. And we really didn't know how to get those badges. Of course, we could take them, but we didn't want to do that. So what we did was we posted a job listing on ProBlogger, I think, that we were looking for content writers, and we asked in the application form to list 3 of the 3 articles that you're most proud of. And obviously all the writers listed, the articles they wrote for big publications, credible publications, and they listed, I wrote this article on Forbes, I wrote this article on Inc., etc. And we really didn't care about hiring them, but we cared about finding people who wrote for those publications so we can then outreach them. So what we did with that list, we went through that list and emailed the writers who were writing for those credible publications and said, we actually found the writer already, but could you write a publication about us on one of these websites? And some of them did. So the success didn't end there. So we instead of promoting the landing page, which was initially there, what we did was we promoted the Forbes article, let's say, which basically said there was an aspiring entrepreneur who found Oberlo and built a business and had a lot of success. And those stories were true. And so we promoted with paid advertising those stories on Forbes.com, but we did the redirect in between Facebook click and that article. And then we retargeted that traffic. So it was much easier to promote content which comes from a credible source rather than from some website like Oberlo.com, which was unknown at that. So that was really, really successful. It helped us scale fast, and I think we actually even got that. I don't know if that was Forbes, but Forbes has this trending sidebar, or it had it at the time, where it shows the most popular articles. So I think we got to the top at one point. We spent a lot of money. So that was successful, and I remember it because it was more interesting than traditional. Where's the most unsuccessful one? We've done a lot of international campaigns so the way Oberlo works is that mostly mostly merchants sell products to the US market. So you sell products that are in China to the US market, and it doesn't matter where you are in the world. So our product is really accessible to everyone. Like I can be in Lithuania dropshipping to the US, I can be in Albania, Romania, Asia, wherever. So we experimented a lot with international campaigns, and actually just less than a year ago we did quite a few campaigns on international where we made some mistakes and brought a lot of leads from emerging markets that never converted, and I think there was a loss of like $300,000 or something like that. So that was because the feedback will, I mean, for us, we are successful if the merchants are successful. So yeah, the feedback loop when they start making sales is pretty long. So we sign someone up, and then to get that feedback, it takes like a while. So you bring a lot of leads cheap from emerging markets, and then you wait for a month just to see that nobody makes sales.
Yeah.
So that was a hard realization. So we revised that already. Yeah, so that was the most successful and unsuccessful marketing campaign. Should I just go for the question?
I can read for you.
Okay.
Yeah. So which people do you follow for inspiration and motivation?
Yeah, so I follow, from the marketing perspective, I think I only follow two guys, or I remember two guys. So one is Andrew Chen from, he was a growth guy at Uber. And then Brian Balfour, who was a VP of growth at HubSpot, and he's now running Reforge. So those two guys are really deep on some growth tactics, and yeah, it's hard to find that good.
Okay.
And I'm also following Stratechery, if that's how you call it. I'm not sure if anyone knows, but there's this guy Ben Thompson who's running this blog Stratechery, and it's really in depth about technology. And yeah, I know I've seen him retweeted by a lot of prominent tech leaders. He's really good. And then there is Shane Parrish from Farnham Street, another technology coverage. So these are probably like the four guys that I always read, and there are definitely a lot of others.
Okay. What is the biggest challenge you are facing right now?
Yeah, there was definitely a lot of challenges. I think the biggest one is like this fundamental challenge of helping merchants make sales. So our audience is aspirational entrepreneurs, people who want to start e-commerce businesses and don't have products to sell. So what we do is we provide them a solution which helps them find products to sell. Well, the next challenge they face is how to make sales. And helping aspiring entrepreneurs make sales with the products they source from us is a pretty hard challenge because, I mean, it's pretty much like learning a language. So I feel like Duolingo should face the same challenges. There are like 300 million users using Duolingo and trying to learn languages, but I think the retention rate is pretty low. Like, there's a lot of ambitious people who want to learn a lot of languages, but like you don't stick to it because you don't have time, you don't have motivation, or other things to do. Same with e-commerce. Like we help people build e-commerce businesses, and not all of them succeed. Even though we really like try hard to help them succeed.
Yeah.
So that's a huge challenge.
Was there someone that at some point completely changed the way you think about business?
Sure. So I think, what shaped us the most at the very beginning, and I think that was really important, was our investor Roberto Bonanzinga. Well, he hasn't actually invested like in us. Technically, he did, but like it's a long story. But he was the guy who outreached us when we were a team of like 7 people working in a small office, and really didn't know like much on what we were building. Like, we were just following, the flow, like working on the product that we kind of launched accidentally, and we didn't really have a like strong vision of what it is and how do we want to move it and create it. And he outreached us and he helped us realize the size of this opportunity and how we should look at it and how should we form it. So he was the idea. He posed the ideas of opening the Berlin office. He posed the ideas of structuring the team the way we did, moving to English language in the office. We were only Lithuanian at the time. So like he really shaped the way we build business because he has seen a lot of the businesses being built and sold and grown to other companies, and he really knew how to form it at the very beginning, so it's easier in the future. So he really helped a lot.
Okay. What is one book that you would recommend to a good friend?
Yeah, I would recommend Talent is Overrated. It is, I don't remember who wrote it, but it's the title describes it pretty much. It basically says that talent is, he goes a little bit to extremes, but basically says that talent is really, it's really something that can be gained.
With hard work.
Yeah. He was using one example where some psychologist or something like that put a listing in a local newspaper or something that he's looking for a woman who could give birth to a child for him because he wants to prove that he can grow a chess master. And chess master is like a title that only a few people in the world has. And so he grew with that woman two girls who became chess masters at I think like age 60 or something. And he literally just like he used empirical evidence to prove that you can.
So he managed to do that.
Yeah. And these two girls are like a famous example. I don't remember like this experiment name or the last name of that girl, of those girls, but I'm sure that they do that.
Okay, so I think this question is kind of connected. So what do you value the most in your employees? Is it hard work or talent?
I think like what we are looking for, or at least that I'm looking for, is like this entrepreneurial spirit. Like even in my team on the marketing side, the ability to motivate yourself, to not ask what to do and to figure out yourself, like this resourcefulness, etc. So I think like this entrepreneurial spirit is really something that you should look for. And if you can find a founder who is willing to join your company, I think that's really cool.
Okay. So how life has changed when Oberlo was sold to Shopify? How your life has changed?
My life. I don't think it changed much though. Well, obviously I'm like a little bit better, a little bit financially better off. I'm working on the same things though. Well, the team is bigger. I'm now part of a bigger organization, so the job style has changed a little bit, but like I don't think anything has changed. I think Shopify is really good as a company in trying not to interfere with, or I'll put it this way. So I think there are different acquisition types, and there are consolidation acquisitions where Omnitel and Telia buys Omnitel or the other way around, and they consolidate all the resources and finances in one place, and that results in a lot of layoffs to optimize the cost. So that's consolidation. Then there is acqui-hires where they acquire a company just for the talent, so they close the agents, let's say, just hire the talent to other product teams or whatever. And then there are product acquisitions, and I think we were a product acquisition where we had a product which had the potential in their eyes, and they were acquiring us because we were doing well, and the only thing they wanted to do is to let us do well, keep going. And I think for that reason, not a lot of things have changed because we were just given the resources we had and the infrastructure we have developed over the last 10 years to keep going in the direction we go. So I think it's more from like the enabling side. So not a lot of things.
Okay. So how did your earlier career choices lead you to where you are right now?
Yeah, so I was thinking a lot about this question, and I'm not really sure how to answer it. I think there could be a few points. So one is, unlike many other entrepreneurs, I think I was never building a business because of passion.
Okay.
I had a lot of projects, and the only reason I was building those projects was because I wanted to earn cash. That was the straight truth, and that kind of enabled me to quit projects really fast. Like I've had a lot of projects, not that all, so I had a lot of projects, and like compared to my age, and I really felt easy with quitting them, and I think that enabled me to look for other opportunity and grow faster, because I think like now I see that a lot of people are stuck at what they do, and they're afraid to leave and not feel comfortable with change. Whereas I really did well with managing change. So I think that was one of the things. And I think the other one was probably that I started in Facebook advertising in 2011. That was my first like thing or craft that I did after finishing school. And at the time, not a lot of people knew about Facebook advertising. And yeah, I had a head start. So I think Lithuania, Facebook advertising was at the stage where we had to convince companies to do social media marketing or something like that. And we can become really, really great at something that nobody is doing. So that was it. And given that Facebook has grown really fast over the last 5-6 years, I was the one who started it.
So what was your first win when you made you believe that you are on the right way?
Yeah, I think my dropshipping.
Yeah.
So I started a dropshipping business in 2013. Before that dropshipping business, I had an agency, a social media marketing agency, and I was working with a few clients here in Lithuania. One was Tiketa, another one was S2, which helps students find universities abroad. And then there was this local startup, Hello Shopper. And there were a few companies, and all of them, like at the sudden, just disappeared. So like Tiketa with us, Hello Shopper closed, I think, and like it was a pretty bad time. And then I was like looking for freelance work on Upwork, and I was working with one client, and he was dropshipping. And I've heard about this term from him, and then I dig into it, and then we launched the dropshipping store in a month or so. And it did well. So,
what were you selling?
we were selling, at the beginning we were selling clothing, then we did a lot of stuff. Like when you are dropshipping, what's great about dropshipping is actually that you can switch products really fast. Like when you are in a traditional e-commerce model, you have to do a lot of research to understand what sells well and has a good potential, because you're actually investing your money in buying that stock and holding it in your warehouse and then trying to sell it off. Whereas in dropshipping, I try selling these chairs today, and then if it doesn't work out, I try tomorrow tables. Really, like I can switch back and forth between different products really fast and really find the product which sells well versus doing this like product research. So we started with clothing, but like we did a lot of testing with a lot of different products.
So is there any plan to have only Oberlo suppliers without AliExpress?
Yeah, so we already have actually different suppliers. So next to AliExpress, we have a Oberlo marketplace where we have a small office in China, and in some operations in Canada, where in both of these offices we are trying to invite individual suppliers to join our platform directly and offer their products to our merchants. So I think what actually worked out really well for us is, in simple terms, we are operating a marketplace like Airbnb. So you have two sides. On Airbnb, it's buyers and hosts. On our side, it's Shopify merchants and suppliers. And theoretically, marketplaces are very hard to build because we have the egg and the chicken problem. Like if there were no hosts on Airbnb, no buyers would come to Airbnb, and the other way around. Like if there are no buyers, who would list their apartments on Airbnb? So the same for us. Like we really had a hard. Like if we started building a marketplace from scratch, we would have had a hard time building it while getting products at the same time with the merchants is really hard. So AliExpress has worked for us as a accidental solution to this problem. We plugged in a supply side with millions of products and then focused on the demand side. And at the time when a lot of merchants started using our product, we could go directly to the suppliers and say, we have this demand, why don't you list your products on Oberlo? And they listed their products, and with that, our focus is to introduce other verticals, higher quality products, different destinations so the shipping is faster, and it worked out for us. So there is already available other products.
Okay. So let's talk about company culture and company values. We just recently revised ours. So do you have any company values in Oberlo or in Shopify? Could you tell more?
Sure. So there's obviously a list of values, but I'm not sure if I can recall all of them.
Yeah.
So I will tell the ones that like I know or that we live by. And
So do you have different values for Oberlo and then for
no, we are like actually our like mindset really matched when we started chatting. The acquisition process took around 6 months, so we had a lot of time to get to know each other. And yeah, but overall, I think what you can find at Shopify a lot is that, and probably at a lot of different startups is there is a lot of change involved. Shopify is growing really fast. Shopify is now around 4,500 people, and I joined Shopify a year ago, and I joined Shopify earlier than 50% of their employees. So you can imagine the scale, like Shopify is really like doubling every year, and there are a lot of things that change, and when a lot of things change, you really have to be comfortable with change. So I think one of the values that Shopify really encourages and looks at people is like this thriving on change. How do you act when things change? Are you afraid? Are you defensive? Etc. So like feeling comfortable with change, I think is really important. Then focus on impact. Impact is really ingrained in Shopify culture. So actually, we even have like impact levels across the organization where we try to determine your impact level and see how you impact your work, other teams, other departments, etc. So, like focus on impact versus like activity is really important as well. And this entrepreneurial spirit is really across the organization. Like there are a lot of people who have successful businesses and are working at Shopify because at Shopify the culture is really hands-off. So the founders feel welcomed and free to pursue their visions in different verticals or different products. Yeah, I think like describing a change, entrepreneurial spirit, focus on impact is probably like the core values.
So you think it's a flat organization?
Well, it's not like 5,000 people. You definitely have to have some.
Yeah, but I mean.
Yeah, it's not in a way like hands off. I think it's in a way that you really invest a lot in the hiring process to hire the smartest people you can find, and then your goal is to let them do what they do best. Like, and I know that it sounds cliche, but like it's really there is this term like there is mental model at Shopify which is trust battery. Trust battery is that if we started working together today, like our trust battery will be at half. So if you're doing well, my trust battery increases, and then as it increases, I'm giving less and less guidance to you. Like probably I could trust you completely. And it's a very basic model, but like if you're not doing it as well, my trust battery decreases, and and then I'm probably more closely working with you or closely tracking what you do, and maybe even we split our rates. So I think that's there's a lot of trust between employees, and when that trust is not there, I think we're solving the challenge.
Yeah. Okay. Let's go back to you. So somebody was asking about your future plans, and is there any business venture on your mind right now?
There is none. I'm sure I will be building something, but there is none.
Okay. Okay. How do you motivate your team? Do you organize team buildings, vocations? Which motivation works best?
Yeah, I don't have any. Well, the motivation comes with a lot of like smart people. I really think there is like we don't do a lot of like proactive motivation. We create an environment where smart people will feel confident, so they are not closely managed or micromanaged. They have all the opportunities to learn and develop themselves. They have great compensation. They work with other smart people, and the challenges are really interesting. So I think creating the environment where smart people will feel motivated is the key, versus like trying to somehow falsify that or like just pretend the motivation.
Yeah, that's so much fun. Okay. From what moment did you realize that Oberlo became really valuable and huge business?
Yeah, so I think the biggest realization was when we asked our merchants why they use Oberlo. So we built Oberlo, and initially it was literally just an AliExpress importer tool. So we didn't really know about this marketplace or that we help merchants succeed or find products to sell. What we built was a tool which allows Shopify merchants to import products from AliExpress. And that was the only feature that it had. It didn't even have an ordering feature where merchants, after selling a product, would be able to order it from AliExpress. It was literally just a product importer. And that's how we marketed it. So we put out ads saying, if you're using Shopify, import products from AliExpress to your Shopify store, or connect your Shopify store to AliExpress. And it kind of like had around 1,000 users or something like that. And then we said like, well, it looks interesting. Let's try to dig into that, and maybe there are opportunities to go even further. And we did this survey, which was like a very theoretical way of trying to understand who are the users and how we can find more of them. And we asked our users a very simple, open-ended question, which was, why do you use Oberlo? And another one was, what are you trying to achieve with it? And we expected that everyone will say, I use Oberlo to import products from AliExpress, and I don't know, I want to earn money or something like that. And most of them answered, I want to start my own business. And that was like, wow, like that's really interesting. Because there are so many more people that want to start a business than to import products from AliExpress. And I think that informed our vision a lot. Like, we understood at that point that there is this audience of people who are willing to start a business, and probably there are a lot of them. I mean, around the world, like even in Sweden, probably every third person wants to start his own business.
Especially.
Yeah, like exactly. So, and they have the tools, like they can launch an e-commerce business in one day, or a website in one day, like with Wix, WordPress, Shopify, etc. They can do marketing with Facebook or Google AdWords. Like it's really easy. Like Facebook made it really easy to, pinpoint a person or a target audience somewhere in Indonesia. Like you can actually show your ads to them. And finding products is always like, we realized at some point that finding products is always like something that stops people from starting a business, because what we have is either directories of product suppliers, and all the communication goes through email. Like it looked pretty hard. So I think at that point we realized that our target audience and the challenge and the problem we are solving is much bigger than what we imagined, and it enabled us to do more marketing and reach bigger audiences, and that's how we kind of do it. Yeah, from that point on, like it was, because even today, like there are 700,000 Shopify merchants, there are millions and millions of people who want to start their own businesses.
Yeah.
So.
Everyone. Okay, so which digital marketing channel gives you the biggest growth? Is it still Facebook?
No, it's not Facebook anymore. It's content marketing. I mean, content marketing is not a channel, but it serves well for a lot of other channels. So I think that's kind of our key.
Okay.
So you use email as well?
Yeah, we use email.
Send your content through a weekly newsletter, right?
Yeah, we use email. We have over 1 million emails. For a lot of them. We use Exact Target though. It's an enterprise solution. So, but
we delete that.
Yeah, but we were using Mailer like that.
So what do you think about dropshipping future? Does it have a future, or people become more self-sufficient by buying products straight from suppliers?
I absolutely think it has. I wouldn't be working at Oberlo if I didn't believe that. And I think it changes a lot. Like when I started dropshipping, and that was 2014, a lot of people said that dropshipping is dead, but it wasn't. I made a great store myself, and there are a lot of people that I know who build big dropshipping stores. There's even one guy in Hong Kong that I met, and he's taking his dropshipping store public. That's how big you can
What is
be.
he selling?
He has like 20 stores. He's big. So it's like it works, though it changes. So I think 10 years ago or so, dropshipping was around selling very expensive products through SEO. So you would build a store which is super niche, like some specific fishing gear, let's say, which is really expensive. And then you would rank for this specific keyword. And whenever someone searches for that product once a month, you would sell that product and make $500 off one purchase. And that was the way those dropshipping businesses. SEO became a little bit harder, and then people moved to Facebook. And when I did that, Facebook was still kind of an early age for dropshipping, but like it really scaled up until recently. And yeah, we see a huge trend going towards Instagram because a lot of merchants are obviously selling apparel and fashion, and Instagram is a great channel for that, and Instagram influencers, etc. So I think it evolves and through different marketing channels which require different products, like you need a different product for SEO and Instagram or for Facebook. So it evolves and I don't know where it will go because I think what's beautiful about this model is there are like these hundreds of thousands of aspiring entrepreneurs who come to Oberlo and they look for products and they have this they are all hungry for success and their collective intelligence finds the way to make sales. Like, I'm not that smart to tell 100,000 people how to make revenue, like how to build stores. Like, we are discussing this like theoretical, like philosophical question on our content marketing team a lot. Like we are writing educational content. How could we teach what to do? Like when there are like hundreds of thousands of people who can figure that out themselves. Yeah. It's not my phone.
Ah, yeah. Okay, so what was your biggest fear about selling your company? Were you right, or how did you avoid it? Would you like to avoid it?
I'm not sure if I had any fears, to be honest. I think given that the acquisition process was around 6 months, we really had a lot of time to get to know each other. And of course, you would always be very suspicious that things won't turn out as we were told, but well, it actually we are really happy that we are part of Shopify, and again, not a lot of things have changed, which we are satisfied about. That's what we expected. Obviously, you can't say that nothing changed. You are now part of a big organization, so there is more planning, more looking into the future, more alignment between teams. Chatting with someone that's other part of the world and should we do that because that overlaps with your stuff? There is a lot of that, but I think that's expected, and I don't even know whether that comes from Shopify or from Oberlo, because when we sold Oberlo, it was around 50 people. Now we are over 150. So we as a unit grew 3 times as well. So probably a lot of things that we're not happy about changed at Oberlo. That was inevitable.
Talking about project management, what tools and methods do you use for project management, and what helps you the most to get things done when you are that big and growing that fast?
So we don't have one solution. I'm afraid. So I know that the product management uses Jira and Shopify internal tools. On the marketing team, we use Asana. But I doubt that anyone uses that. We really don't care much. As long as you do the work. I know people use Trello. It sometimes sucks when something is on Trello and you don't even have access to it. But yeah, whatever is comfortable.
So every team has their own kind of.
Yeah, and there are a lot of discussion that it's not very scalable and sustainable. But again, we don't really care. We have some tools that we use across the organization, which is Google products or Google Drive, Gmail, Google Calendars. That's probably.
And what do you use for video calls?
We use Hangouts and Zoom. Hangouts is this one solution used by the entire company, and it's integrated in our meeting rooms, etc. But for a lot of calls, especially with China, we use Zoom because Google is blocked in China.
Okay. So let's get back to you. So what is the daily routine before or after the work?
Yeah, I would love to tell something really interesting here, but exercising, reading, or having cold showers or whatever.
Yeah, what time are you waking up?
No, not. So I'm traveling a lot, and it's hard to have a everything. I'm like on and off like that. I sometimes exercise, most of the time I'm on. Yeah, sometimes reading most of the time. So it's really hard. But yeah, yeah, I don't have any secret.
Okay. So how do you recharge? And how do you get inspiration, new ideas to develop your business or launch new projects?
I think, well, it's a great question because I don't get new ideas when I recharge, I think. I get probably new ideas when I speak with merchants, when I meet people who are using Oberlo, building their businesses, or people who are not using Oberlo but they are building businesses in a different way. So I think you get a lot of ideas and inspiration from that. Whereas about reading, I work. When I travel, I read, watch YouTube like a regular person. Really, like no specific task.
And last question that I have here is, what do you want to be when you grow up?
What did I want to be, or
No, I think not right now.
right now? Yeah, that's a tough question.
Your plan after 20 years?
I don't have a plan. I recently was watching a video actually by this guy that I mentioned at the beginning, Brian Balfro, from Reef Forge, and he had an interesting idea, which said that since the world is changing so fast, like every 5 years we have new technology and everyone has to adapt, and it's probably outdated to ask what's your plan in 5 years or 10 years, because you don't even know what, like he used some statistics, like World Economic Forum said that 2 out of 3 skills that every person will need in 2025 are not known yet.
Yeah.
Like, I don't even know how the world will look like in 5 10 years. Like, so I don't really, I would love to be happy, and that's most of it. But I don't really know where I would like to be.
Okay, super. So this is all the questions that I had, so now everybody can ask them.
So you're now a Canadian company, and since I'm Canadian, I'm interested in what the differences are between a Lithuanian work company ethic and a Canadian work company ethic and business culture. Can you compare and contrast a little bit?
Sure. Yeah, I think Canadians are super friendly. Good answer. I think those differences come from, and that's probably not really nice about Lithuanians though, is that, so I work in Berlin office mostly, and I think it's not just Canadians and Lithuanians, it's
Global, of course.
probably global, global and Eastern Europe. So that, I think, we are not, I don't want to say that we are not as friendly, we are not as friendly, we are not able to express that friendliness that much. I think especially at the very beginning, and that's very personal, maybe it's just me, but especially at the very beginning, when we visit Canada office, you pass by someone and they say, hey, how's it going? And I don't even know whether I should reply or not. I either start replying, a full conversation, and that person didn't expect that. Or I don't reply anything, and I just say hi, and if I just say hi, they don't really know whether I'm angry at them or whatever. I think those small talks in small conversations really sets the tone of your feelings towards that person. So if I can be that positive, if I'm not asking how are you every time, it seems like I don't care about the person. And I think maybe it's not just Eastern European. I think Eastern European has this less excitedness and energy, where a little bit calmer. But I think that I could contrast that. I think Canadians especially are full of energy, really caring, and Lithuanians are exactly that, but they just don't express that so well. So when those two people meet, I think there's sometimes friction that you are too negative towards us. So I feel like that a lot.
Interesting.
Would you say the same thing? Have you noticed anything like that?
Yeah, I think I think that this generation, this new culture, new generation of Lithuanians is kind of getting there, being able to be more expressive and not worried and not so guarded. But I think certainly an older generation, more guarded. And then once you get to know them, a couple of drinks later, you realize everything's okay. Yeah. But no, that's a very, very interesting observation. I also wanted to ask if I could, what's Oberlo? What is that?
We have the main.
So this event is more geared towards a hackathon and people starting from scratch. What would you do different? What would you be your lessons or advice for people that will be starting in a hackathon or are just starting for past on a new gig for past 2 months?
Yeah, so I'm, as a marketing person, I would say to focus on marketing. I think development kind of became a commodity. Like, it's nothing amazing if you can build a product. Like, a lot of people can build a product. If you can build a demand for that product, I think that's much harder. So I think and I doubt that it's my idea, but I think I've heard somewhere, or I collected all the information and kind of made this observation that I think, well, the world belongs to those who own the demand. Like, if it's easier to build a product or find a supply, I think once you have the demand, and that demand can be through a community on Facebook, through a blog, through a video channel, through Instagram, through wherever, I think and when you have the demand, like, things will be much easier. So I would really encourage everyone to focus on generating demand for something. It could be an idea, a topic, etc., and then building a product for that. Because I've seen, and I have experienced myself, too many failures where you build a product and it's, or you have not, or you can't convert someone cheap enough to justify the cost.
Yeah, so I work for Elastic and we're about to go public, and it scares me a bit. And even though you didn't go through the IPO with them, you went from a startup to a public listed company. And I was wondering if you have, what do you think, what sort of impact does that have in terms of ethics, the openness and creativity of a company?
Yeah, that's a good question. So, yeah, as you mentioned, I don't have the full context and on the IPO process, but I think Shopify is handling that pretty well, and probably that depends on the leadership of the company. So Shopify which is really worked a lot of people, is fully transparent internally. So I can literally just go and access sensitive reports, financial reports, check how many sales are coming from which region, etc. So, like, full transparency, like we are default to transparency internally and secrecy externally. So we are handling that well. I don't feel like we are living up to, actually, even in the official core values, there's things for the long term, because what you can probably see out of a lot of public companies is that they focus on next quarter reports, which is a huge problem. Shopify has been doing well, and I've never heard anyone pushing on next quarter ROI or something like that. Yeah, but it probably really depends on the leadership of the company. So, and on the plans. Shopify is internally really pushing this image of we want to be a company for the next, we want to be a company that exists the next 100 years, and we have events, teams this way. When we think about how will we look in 100 years, and I think that brings a lot of, like, we don't care about the market, and not that we don't care about it, like, we care really about our investors, but, like, we don't try to play it. We really think about the long term and how to build the biggest company over the long period of time.
Reassuring, thank you.
Sure.
More questions? So then, thank you, and we can have coffee with Thomas
Sure.
after the event.